Hey, Hound Dogs, I'm David Hankins.
I'm Paul Hankins.
I'm Trevor Hankins.
And you're on the air with Power Squared. Tonight we're doing a special 40th anniversary tribute to TMNT,
Yes.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Yes.
The comic book which was first published in 1984.
By Kevin Eastman and Peter Laird.
Okay, good for you. So you have the first a colorized version of the first issue.
Yes.
Yes, there we go.
The Turtles legacy started here.
Yes.
And this was actually published by who? Not.
It was published by Mirage, which was Eastman and Laird's label.
Right. Okay. So, I guess RCC Press.
This is an IDW reprint.
Right.
Yes. We actually got ours signed by Eastman.
Right.
You might see that signature a lot in this show.
Yeah, we had a few things signed by him.
Yeah.
So, what do you guys want to talk about?
Okay, well. So it did start with the comic. Trevor and I are not familiar with all of TMNT.
Okay.
We're familiar with parts of it.
You can pay tribute to something and not be an expert on it.
Yeah, but I
Which
just
is
wanted
what we're doing.
to make that clear.
Okay.
So that colorized reprint is how we don't actually remember if we read that one, but that is how we would have read the first Mirage issue.
Yes.
And from what I remember of the Mirage comic, it's darker than someone would think if they got in. We'll get into it later, but if they got into it through the 80s cartoon, which was a lot more comedic in tone generally.
Yeah.
They would be surprised at how dark the Mirage comic could get. Like in the first issue of the Mirage comic, Shredder dies.
Oh.
Because they thought it would just be the one issue. They didn't expect it to like blow up the way it did.
Yeah.
Yeah. You have to be careful with hitting the table.
Yeah. I apologize for having to mess with the camera. Yeah, there were guns and everything. Sort of. I mean, what I've heard.
It was at least more violent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
And all the turtles had the same
Color headband.
Yeah.
Somebody wasn't thinking out of the box, were they? So go ahead.
I will note that since then, there's also been TMNT comics through other publishers. I think it included Archie Comics,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Dreamwave. No one cares about Dreamwave. There's also one through Image, I think,
Right.
and that one actually recently got a reprint and extension to complete the story.
Okay.
And then there might be one or two I'm forgetting right now, but then it's currently under IDW, which is actually how we decided to introduce ourselves to
Okay.
TMNT.
Yeah.
In fact, we have all 4 covers of the first issue.
Also, same cover. I mean, same issue of variant covers.
Yeah,
Yes.
but it's all 4 turtles.
Oh, okay.
And
So we're like, you gotta have all 4 turtles.
they connect.
Okay.
And all of them are signed by Eastman, Waltz, and Curnow,
Yeah.
the editor.
Where's Laird?
What?
Laird isn't part of it?
Just complicated, actually.
Yeah.
was not involved with the ODW comic.
Ah.
But Eastman was heavily involved.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. I don't. Well, how much is? I mean, they don't control it anymore, right? Doesn't
No.
Viacom somehow own it all?
Yeah, Nickelodeon owns the IP.
Yes.
Which is why you're now seeing it everywhere.
All right. So it the comic's been going on for it's still going, right?
Yes.
40 years on. That's a pretty good run.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so then they branched out, as you said, television. There was like animated kids shows,
Yes.
and there's been more than one of those.
Yeah.
There was something called TMNT, and there was some
All right. So
Turtles mentioned. Teenage Mutant.
Let's not get ahead of ourselves.
Well, I'm
Yeah.
just trying to keep it going.
well, I wanted to talk about the comic a little.
Good.
Because that's how we got introduced to
Okay.
it. So the IDW comic, I remember at first really liking it.
Yes.
We eagerly awaited each issue, and we even, as IDW, I don't know if they still do this, but they did this thing at one point where it's not enough to just have like the main series. You got to have side series to go with the main series and are canon to the main series.
It's like the MCU.
Yeah,
There's even a canon crossover with Ghostbusters.
this, and I guess subtle flex on all the signatures. Comic-Con is a boon for that.
Yes.
But yeah, the canon crossover with Ghostbusters, and I think that was actually pretty fun.
Yes.
Because I also like the Ghostbusters comic. But after around like issue 50 of the main IDW run, our interest started to wane because issue 50 felt like this big emotional climax.
So
And
after that, I was like, now what?
yeah,
More?
It's like, I think it surpassed like over 100. It's been going for like over 100 issues.
Yeah.
You know, and I think they actually like recently either rebooted it or like just started from a new number one.
yeah, I have a Brian Lee O'Malley variant of the new issue 2.
But
I think.
yeah, but we don't have that here right now. But after number 50, it was like, now what?
Yeah.
Like, you accomplished your goal by like beating Shredder. So like, where do you go now?
So
Yeah.
it's like the MCU then.
Man, this camera's just gonna keep moving.
You know.
Yeah, it's kind of like the Marvel Cinematic Universe after Endgame.
Well, I guess you gotta have Krang, you gotta have something, but the thing I remember the most from the IDW comic is the introduction of Alapex. Who's
Yes.
that character we like?
So much we have her to
Yeah.
And who is this?
She is a mutated Arctic fox.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what you expect not to find?
She sort of starts as a sort of enemy, but then becomes an ally.
So you mentioned she's a mutant. How do the Teenage Turtles get their powers? I mean, they're mutations themselves.
Yeah.
What caused them to mutate?
The ooze.
Yes.
Ooze. Okay. Ooze is just whatever they want it to be. I mean, is there industrial waste or?
It depends.
Okay.
It depends on the timeline.
But they're pretty. It's still ooze always. It's
Yeah.
not. In this case, it's a meteorite or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's always ooze somehow.
Okay. But they don't define what ooze is.
Well, it's hard to define it because it depends on the
I
continuity.
see. Okay.
Like where the exact origin is dependent.
Okay.
Well,
And then
while we're talking about the IDW comic, there is also the Last Ronin storyline.
yeah, which they've kept going after this one.
So this was, if I'm right, this was based on a story that was written by Eastman and Laird,
Okay.
Yeah.
which is why both are
Credited.
credited here.
Yeah.
So you want to tell people what that's about?
It takes place in the future, and it's sort of a dark future where only one of the turtles is still alive.
Yeah.
I'm
The
not gonna
last Ronin.
I'm not gonna say which one and not spoil it for people who
Haven't read it,
yeah.
but it is sad.
Yeah.
You get
Yes.
like because they're a team and it's like the last
Yeah.
the last one fighting on.
And they after last Ronin they kept it going with
Lost Years and I think now Last Ronin 2.
yeah. Lost Years. After reading, I liked Last Ronin, but after Lost Years, I'm waffling on whether or not I'll keep reading it. Partly because Lost Years, a lot of the comic was like Wall of Runes.
Yeah, there was like I said before, I've said before in other episodes. It's like I'm not like anti-dialogue in a comic, but sometimes it's like shut up.
Yeah.
There's like Last Years there was like a little too much dialogue.
Yeah,
Okay.
just wouldn't stop talking. Even during fight scenes, he won't stop talking.
That is a problem.
I don't know if that's like a holdover from how comics used to be written or something.
Well, when we looked at that first Transformers,
Yeah.
Yeah.
it was very wordy, so maybe
Yeah.
that was how they were done more back then. That was
Yes.
about 40 years as well, right?
We have 5 videos on that, but back to TMNT.
I'm just making the comparison. We're celebrating 40 years, and
Yeah.
that was 40 years old, and they
Yeah.
would probably be very similar as far as. So if it's wordy back then, it's probably because they were wordy
Yeah.
back then.
So we can circle back to comics later. Move on to the cartoons.
Okay.
It was, the original comic was so popular that it got an animated series in the 80s.
Yeah.
Right.
Which is what a lot of people, not most, a lot of people would be familiar with as their introduction to TMNT. So to them, that's TMNT.
It's a little more jokey.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
It does have some like serious stories, but it's still generally a lot more lighthearted than. It's almost a tonal opposite of the Mirage comic.
Well, but you have to realize they're trying to do this for kids.
And salt merch, yeah.
I will admit, I've only seen like 2 episodes off of this DVD because I watched them for a specific character. I'll probably get into later.
I'm sure we will. But so, what did you think of the overall?
Just from those 2 episodes, it's kind of like when you go back and watch the 80s Transformers cartoon, like there are people that like hold that as like the gold standard, but it's like way sillier than
Well,
you might be led to believe.
well, that's just billions of astroseconds.
I'm not gonna diss the 80s cartoon or people who like the 80s cartoon, but to me it was.
I'm not saying it was bad.
It's just it's a lot sillier than.
Yeah, the 80s.
Yeah.
comic book.
Yeah.
But that was again, they're trying to appeal to children.
Yeah, but in general, the 80s cartoon is very silly. I'm not sure I got interested enough to watch like all the seasons, including the Vacation in Europe side season.
That's an actual thing.
I'm not doubting it. But is it sort of like the comic books themselves are a little more serious, and the television series are a little lighthearted?
Sort of. Yeah, kind of. Although later cartoons generally were more serious than the 80s one.
Okay.
I want to say the Archie run was based more within the 80s cartoon.
Okay.
Yeah.
There was actually recently an IDW comic based on the 80s cartoon.
Yeah.
Okay.
I haven't read it. I just know it's
It's out
called
there.
Saturday Morning Adventures.
Okay.
So the 80s cartoon, then of course I got like all the like a lot of video games and
Sure. Why wouldn't it?
stuff. Then we have the 2003 series.
Which is, I think, when we first heard about Ninja Turtles.
Yeah. I think we were I was vaguely aware of the Turtles before the 2003 show. But the 2003 show is when we were more aware of the Turtles, but we still weren't interested enough to watch. We did so later for the same reason we watched some of the 80s cartoon.
Just like with this, we watched a handful of episodes for a specific character.
Yeah.
And it generally does. It can be a little jokey, but it generally takes itself a lot more seriously than the 80s cartoon.
I think the 2003 show I once heard it considered like the only good thing 4Kids ever did.
Before we get into side characters or crossovers, do you have a favorite turtle? They all have they have sort of distinct personalities.
Yes.
Even though they're named after
Renaissance art.
Yes.
That reminds me, we haven't said who the turtles are.
Yeah, that might be good.
Yeah.
Using it, just picking this up because it's right here. This is weird, hard to point. Raphael, Donatello, Leonardo, and Michelangelo.
Okay.
Yeah.
And they have distinct personalities, right?
Yes.
And you want to talk about their personalities, or?
Yeah. Generally, Leonardo is usually the leader character.
Okay.
Michelangelo is the like party dude.
Right.
Yes. He's the comic relief.
Donatello is the smart one. And Raphael is how would you describe Raphael?
I'd almost say kind of a hothead.
Yeah.
Or
Sounds right.
Which one's the muscle?
yeah, that would be Raph.
Okay.
Yeah.
He's the muscle of the group.
Yes.
So, do you have a favorite of those?
Good question.
I haven't really thought about it that much, honestly.
Let's see. In the one after the 2003 show, there was the 2012 show,
Yes.
which was done by Nickelodeon.
Yes. We've only watched 3 episodes again for that particular character.
Okay.
So the incomplete ones that we saw, wasn't sure about watching the 80s cartoon all the way, partly because there's a lot of it.
Yes.
2003 show, I actually kind of liked what I saw,
Yes.
but again, there's a lot of it. The 2012 show, we liked what little we saw of it.
It's kind of tonally between the first 2 shows.
And then we have Rise of the TMNT,
Right.
Yes.
which we saw all of, and it's really good, and it sucks that Nickelodeon canceled it early.
Yes.
Well, Nickelodeon for listening. One more chance.
There was also, I'll also mention there was a movie, but it's on Netflix, and we don't have Netflix accounts, so we haven't seen it yet.
I think anybody watching the show knows we don't have that.
Yeah, Rise of the TMNT was like it had really good storytelling, strong characterization. The Turtles actually, it's Rise of the TMNT, so the Turtles actually grow into the personalities and roles that people know and love. And the animation is the best out of all of them.
Yes.
It was done by Flying Bark,
Who
who
also did, they later did Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur for Disney.
yeah. And interestingly, before Rise, Flying Bark didn't really have much experience, if at all, with action shows. So it's actually really amazing that they pulled that off. It's like these dynamic movements and camera angles. And it balances serious and comedy like really well. It knows when to do that, when to do each without overdoing either one.
Now they have so there's the four of them,
Yeah,
Yes.
and they have a father figure. It's not their father, but
Right.
he's a
a rat,
yeah. Okay.
Master Splinter.
Now it's the version I saw. He had been a human at one time and a martial artist or something.
Yeah. So
depending on the continuity, he is either a mutated rat, just a mutated rat, or a human that got mutated into a rat.
I'm just saying the version I saw. I'm not saying.
I know, just
or he is also the reincarnation of Hamato Yoshi.
yes.
Okay.
Or some combination.
So he's the father figure.
Yeah.
Yes.
Now the version I saw, there was this, and I think in the movies there's a sidekick kind of woman, April.
April O'Neil.
Yes.
In this version, she's a reporter.
Okay. And the version I saw, she was a kid, right? She was a friend of theirs. I mean,
Yeah.
The same age
Yeah.
as they were. I
Yeah.
should say kid. She's like a teenager.
Yeah.
She wasn't a reporter.
No.
Right.
No.
But she was an ally.
Right.
Then
She usually wears the color yellow in some capacity.
Okay.
yeah. Then there's also other allies, like another one that people will be familiar with is Casey Jones.
Yes.
9 times out of 10, he wears a mask and wields a hockey stick.
Okay.
Wears a hockey mask.
Yeah.
All right.
And is more of an ally vigilante type.
Now
He also sometimes gets into a relationship with April.
okay. I don't remember him so much in the version I watched.
Casey Jones wasn't there in Rise.
Okay. Good. So that's why I didn't fall asleep. I just he wasn't there. Okay.
I am being. There's a reason I said Casey Jones. Is
Okay.
it?
I'm sure I'll get to that later. And then they have. Oh, it's not. There's people that they have villains in this as well.
Yeah. Usually, Shredder.
One thing I really liked about Rise of the TMNT was in like the other versions, the Shredder is a recurring threat, a recurring enemy. So eventually he feels less. From speaking from experience with other shows that have villains like that, it becomes like less of a threat. But
Actually, in the 80s cartoon, he and Krang eventually just become like the odd couple.
Okay. And Krang is another villain.
yeah, he is an
Utrom
yes.
is an alien.
Yeah.
Of course.
But in Rise of the TMNT, they spend an entire season building up to Shredder, so by the end of it, he actually comes off like as an actual threat. And then he does reappear in season 2, but he still feels like an actual threat whenever he shows up.
Okay. And
sometimes Shredder is also the reincarnation of Oroku Saki,
Yes.
who is
feudal Japanese warrior.
Most people may
Hamato
answer-
Yoshi.
okay.
Yeah.
I don't know if your average listeners will go, oh yeah, that's who that is. And Shredder's got a gang or
The Foot Clan.
Yes.
the Foot Clan.
They're Ninja Clan.
Yeah.
Right. And we were recently watching. This is off the subject slightly. But we were watching Elastra,
Yeah.
and it was the hand.
Yeah.
This is the foot. I wonder if there's any relationship there. Okay. And are there, like standout sidemen in the Foot Clan?
Yeah, that also depends on the continuity.
Right.
One that's come up is Karai.
Yeah. Yeah, Karai.
If I'm right, she's usually Shredder's daughter.
Yeah. There aren't that many named Foot members.
Okay.
There was in Rise of the TMNT. There were Foot members that I don't remember if they all had names, but they actually had distinct personalities,
Yes.
and they were recurring, so you got to know them more, including very eager recruit.
Okay.
And she's really into the whole Foot.
Okay.
But even the other named members tell her to like calm down.
Okay. All right. I may be confusing with another show. All right.
You saw Rise.
Yeah, I know. No, I'm trying to think. I thought there were like a couple like kind of bullies that were sort of part of the clan.
Well, there are other mutants that the Turtles fight.
Okay.
Two that people would really be. Two familiar names would be Bebop and Rocksteady,
Okay.
Yes.
So I think I
or a mutated Warthog and Rhino.
Okay,
Yes.
That's what one was a rhino. I remember that.
Yes.
I'll be honest, there are like so many TMNT characters, I don't remember them all on the spot.
No, that's fine. Are they part of the clan, or are they just separate bad guys?
They are
separate bad guys that are often allied with Shredder.
And then in Rise of the TMNT, a lot of the villains are actually yokai.
Because that show has more of a mysticism angle.
Yeah, as opposed to like sci-fi. I didn't mind the mysticism angle in Rise because it felt different from the other series.
Speaking of, the only other Rise media is a comic book.
Wow, what a shock!
This is the whole collection.
Did not have a long run. Apparently.
Nope.
Now, does that retell the story or in comic book form?
It's
or is
original
it-
stories.
Okay.
This is original material.
Yeah.
All right.
Is it canon? I don't know. That's up to you.
Oh, there was. Okay.
So you have all the. So then of course it doesn't stop at TV shows.
Nope.
There's also movies.
Yeah, in the 90s, it got feature film.
The animated feature films, right?
Live action
Okay.
and animated.
Yeah, speaking of live action, I think there was a live action series, Next Mutation, that ran for like 13 episodes.
Yeah, Peter Laird doesn't like talking about that.
Yes.
Especially not the turtle Venus de Milo.
Yeah. I know. Anyway,
Is Laird involved with the show at all?
Not anymore.
Okay. I thought he was at one time.
He might have been with earlier shows, but at some point he got less directly involved with the IP.
Okay.
yes. There was movies.
This is a 4-pack.
All right.
So there were 3 the first 3 were live action.
Okay.
We have not seen the third one.
No. Future Paul here. Right after recording this, we saw the 3rd movie. It's bad.
All right.
But I believe the original live action ones were done with a combination of suits and animatronics.
Yes.
Okay.
I think Jim Henson's Creature Shop was involved.
Yeah. It's like the suits were partially animatronic for the expressions.
Okay.
The fourth one may or may not be connected to the rest. We're not quite sure.
And that one was
Ow.
CG, like
Yes.
100% CG.
Okay. Well, somebody owns the rights, and they own all 4 films they put
Yes.
out back.
Yeah.
So.
Also, despite what people might think, the third one is not called Turtles in Time. They're conflating that with a video game called Turtles in Time.
Okay.
Yeah. But they called the Turtles in Time on the package because everyone
Kept saying that.
Yeah.
All right. So we've only seen a couple of them.
Yeah, we've seen the first 2 and the CG one. I remember the first 2 being okay. Like,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
I think this is one.
not bad.
Yeah, I think this is when I was vaguely aware of the Turtles as a kid, but I was like too young to like
Okay.
process that that's what it was.
Yeah.
And that CG one, I forgot. I just forgot.
All
I
right.
forgot how I felt about
So these,
that one.
when were these films made? Do we know?
Yeah, okay, so I know the first 3 were in the 90s, and the
I think the CG one was like 2007, I want to say.
Okay.
It was from the 2000s.
yeah, definitely from the 2000s.
Okay.
Yeah, 2007 was the CG one, and the first one was in 1990.
So
I'll admit, I remember the CG one came out in 2007 because the Transformers live action movie was coming out around that time.
so okay. So those movies came out, and then
Yeah.
they made
More.
more live action, right?
Yes. This time it was live action CG hybrid.
Yes. So there's this one. So just Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Right. And who played April in this?
Is that
The girl from Transformers.
is that Megan Fox?
I think so. Yes, Megan
Yeah.
Fox. All right.
Yeah, Megan Fox is right there.
So as I recall, this was not a bad film.
No.
I feel like this one this one is overhated.
Yeah.
Is that partly because of Megan Fox?
Well, I think part of the reason it got overhated when it was coming out was because a lot of it was the same situation as a live action Transformers one. I know this isn't 100% of the people complaining before it came out, but a lot of it was people familiar with the original cartoon, and they hadn't paid attention to the franchise in like 20 odd years.
Which is also a weird parallel with the Transformers fandom.
Yeah, so they
4-year-old?
so they assumed that they brought it back for nostalgia,
Oh, okay.
or to cash in on nostalgia, and they were purists who were too used to the original cartoon, not knowing that there were other variants of the same thing.
Or that it started as a comic.
Yeah, so there was a lot, and of course it didn't help. There were leaks about certain changes that were made, but it should be noted that Michael Bay actually vetoed all of those changes.
Okay.
And Michael Bay didn't even direct this one; he was just a producer.
Yeah, because his production company was involved.
Okay.
Platinum Dunes.
Yeah, but in any case, there were probably some issues with this, but it was better than people thought it was going to be.
Another thing that confused us was people were like shitting all over how they presented the origin story in this one, even though it was exactly the same as in the IDW comic.
Yeah,
You know.
they probably just didn't read the IDW comic. To be fair, not enough people read the IDW comics, so not enough people were aware that Alapex was from. Probably not enough people were aware Alapex was from the comic and not the 2012 show.
All right.
Yes.
So
Um,
this did well enough to produce a sequel.
Yes.
Out of the Shadows.
Yes, which was the first appearance of Bebop and Rocksteady on the silver screen.
Wow.
Yes. They almost appeared in They almost appeared in Secret of the Ooze, which was movie 2, but they were replaced with original characters Toka and Razor.
Yeah,
However
something
you say
like
it.
that.
It seems to be a kind of a can be an issue with comic book films is the director or writers or producer think, oh, I want to change something up or add some character or
Yeah.
not follow the book because that's silly.
Uh,
I know best.
I remember this one being probably overall not as good as this one.
Mm-hmm.
Again, we're saying good in a relative sense. But
I remember still enjoying it.
yeah, I still enjoyed it. But I think the most enjoyable part was Bebop and Rocksteady.
Yes.
Because it was cool seeing. It was actually cool seeing them doing their thing.
Okay.
Also, Baxter Stockman, Tyler Perry.
Yeah.
The show to me that Tyler Perry can act.
Yeah.
Well, I think he thinks he can act already, but yes, interesting.
As in not just his whatever his comedy stuff. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
He doesn't have to wear a dress to be a good actor.
Yeah.
All right. All right. And so,
But it showed he could actually do something more dramatic if he wanted to.
Yeah.
but that wasn't the end of making movies either.
No.
We don't have it, but there was a recent animated movie called Mutant Mayhem.
Yeah.
Right. And I remember when I don't know who was the head of Nickelodeon at the time, but he was like, "Oh, and the person I thought of was Seth Rogen."
Yeah.
And I'm like, really?
Why?
Yeah. that was a shock to me. Like, why
Yeah.
would you think? I mean, now he had done another well, it was actually a radio series, The Green Hornet, and that
Yeah.
wasn't as bad as people said it was.
Yeah.
But I would not have thought of, hey, I want to hand it over to him.
Well, just I still in my brain equate Seth Rogen with his stoner comedies.
Yeah, and
Yes.
sort of not funny animation. It just seemed like an odd choice to me.
Yeah. Fortunately, the movie was better than we probably thought it would be.
It still had some sort of
There were issues still.
off-putting
Yes.
moments in it.
Yeah, like I don't know why the obsession with the milking joke.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't get that.
That was done too much. And I guess it was interesting that it emphasized the teenage part of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Right.
Yes.
And it had an interesting ending that I guess they'd want to follow up on somehow. I know there was the new animated series on Paramount Plus that's based on that, but
Tales of the TMNT.
yeah, but we haven't watched that, so I don't have an opinion on it.
Okay. But yeah, the movie it wasn't as good as it could have been. I think.
No.
That's just my opinion.
At the very least, it had good animation.
Yeah, it has an interesting notebook drawing art style.
Yeah.
Yeah. Was it kind of influenced by, Spider-Man into the Spider-Verse and all that?
Yes.
Yeah, Spider-Verse influenced a lot of influenced at least some animation afterwards because it proved that a unique art style could sell. So that's how we got stuff like the Bad Guys and Puss in Boots 2.
Okay.
There's also a documentary called Turtle Power,
Right.
Yes.
which we got signed.
Yes.
Which tells the origin story of the comic book.
Yeah, it talks about the history of the Turtles, at least. Well, like all documentaries, it cuts off at a certain point.
It cuts off at the first live action movie, I think.
Yeah, but the point was it was the early years.
Right.
And this was actually a really good watch.
Be really cool to get Peter Laird on that.
Yeah.
So we got to find him first.
Yeah. Well, I guess I'll say now there was a point in time where Kevin Eastman was kind of an easy autograph to get, which was how we had so many. But now, good luck,
Yeah.
because he's on that last Ronin train. So.
I remember I got this signed by him.
Yeah.
Uh, was at some con. I think it was WonderCon, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, WonderCon.
And you could actually kind of walk up and actually see him.
Yeah.
And so yeah, it's a little pizza box. There's a little candy pizza on the inside that I would never eat. But yeah.
I wouldn't eat that.
But yeah, that was kind of cool. But he also got involved in
Heavy metal.
Heavy Metal, yeah, magazine.
Yeah. So he was also at the heavy metal booth.
Right. Yeah.
And most people didn't know that. So
Yeah. And
as we foreshadowed earlier with the Ghostbusters comic, the Turtles have had a history of crossovers over the years.
and so a particular character you're interested in.
Yes. For you, that I will note, one sort of interesting thing was IDW once had this event, Infestation. I think the Turtles were involved with one or two. Was it two? I think.
yeah. Yeah, too.
The original Infestation event was like there was this virus that could turn people into like zombies, right?
Yeah.
And they set it up so that it also affected machines, so that they could get Transformers involved in there.
Okay.
And then Infestation 2.
It was like some outer god.
Yes. Like Lovecraft stuff, and the Turtles were involved in that one. But yeah, they have a noted history of crossovers with of the Usagi Yojimbo.
What? You're kidding me. You're interested in that.
So there's a bit of an overlap here with our Usagi special.
I still want to keep trying to. For more information, look at our Usagi episode, but I want to still keep this self-contained with it as it relates to the Turtles.
Yes.
The Usagi Yojimbo by Stan Sakai.
Okay, Stan Sakai, I've heard of him.
Their history of crossing over started because they at one point Usagi was being published under Mirage, and they were like, "Do you want to do a crossover?" And he was like, "Okay."
Okay.
So Usagi Yojimbo Saga Book 9 includes a collection of all of the Turtles crossovers up to a certain point.
Okay.
Like up to Usagi's IDW run.
Okay.
And so it goes all the way back to the Mirage comics.
So how do they? What's the? I mean, I guess they're both ninjas. I mean, why are they interacting?
It depends.
Yes. In the comics, the Turtles are usually somehow transplanted into Usagi's timeline.
Okay. Which happens all the time.
There's actually one crossover that was a one-off crossover that was done by Peter Laird, but he found Usagi harder to draw than he anticipated, as he said in his foreword.
Right.
And in the cartoons, which is the only reason we watched any of the non-Rise cartoons, Usagi either Usagi goes into their world or they go into Usagi's world.
Okay.
Yes. Usagi's crossover in the 80s cartoon got revisited with a crossover in the Saturday Morning Adventures comic.
Okay. So, is it sort of a, looks like kind of a chibi?
Well, this cover is. Yes.
Okay.
This is a cover by Julie Sakai.
Yeah, okay.
It otherwise has an art style like the cartoon.
Alright.
And
I'm judging a book by its cover. That's all I can say.
the 80s cartoon incorrectly referred to the main character of Usagi Yojimbo is Miyamoto Usagi. The 80s cartoon erroneously referred to him by the name of the comic he is from and not his actual name.
That's just sloppy.
Yes.
A funny detail in the Saturday Morning Adventures comic is that they call him by that name, but there's an editor's note saying that they are calling him that because that's what he was called in the cartoon.
That's good.
And there was another when Usagi moved to Dogu, which is Stan Sakai's own imprint.
Right.
That they got their own inaugural crossover,
Okay, cool.
which ties in with an Usagi story.
Alright. That's cool. So,
And there was also a recent TMNT video game called Shredder's Revenge that was based on the comic, the cartoon. Right.
Based on the 80s cartoon.
That's what I was trying to say. It was based more on the 80s cartoon.
Because that's where the nostalgia is.
I personally didn't care about playing it because I didn't have any nostalgia for the 80s cartoon until they added Usagi as DLC.
alright.
So I played this like it was an Usagi game.
The same DLC also introduces more palettes for the Turtles, so now you can pretend it's a Rise of the TMNT game.
This.
That was unfortunately the closest we'll ever get to more Rise representation.
Okay, so getting back to the Turtles.
Yes.
Yes.
Where are they now? How could somebody, if they wanted to, see them? How would they?
Well, I think because Nickelodeon owns the IP, a lot of it is on Paramount Plus now.
Yes. Yeah, most of it is on Paramount. Most of the animated stuff is on Paramount Plus.
And they're also being published now by IDW.
Yes. They're still there.
And are the creators involved at all?
At least Eastman is.
Okay.
Yes.
I don't know where Laird is now.
Yes. When I was remembering when I mentioned the Turtles were under other publishers. One of them was Dreamwave. There was once this anniversary thing that was basically the idea was that it was more stories in each of the other continuities. One of them was the Image run, which was still incomplete at the time, but from my understanding, is still that one still tried to advance the story at least a little bit.
Okay.
Dreamwave, the Dreamwave comic was noticeably absent. I think it's because Dreamwave had a history of not paying people.
Yeah.
That's not a good thing.
No, Pat Lee basically made everyone work for free.
That's like a whole other.
That's
Yeah.
I just thought I would.
Long story short, no one got paid, so no one gets reprinted.
That one doesn't get reprinted.
Yeah.
All right. So so you could watch them on Paramount Plus
Yes.
or Nickelodeon if you still have cable. I
Yeah.
assume. And you can read them on IDW.
Yeah, you can read at least some amount of the comic through IDW.
Yes.
And I assume there's probably trades of the other stuff around.
Yeah.
Yes.
Alright.
I believe so.
Okay. So has reading and watching TMNT influenced your work at all? Let's say on, I don't know, Power Square?
Well, I think Rise had an impact on approaching action
Okay.
Yes.
and thinking about how to add humor to that again without overdoing it.
About making belly laughs or whatever. Alright, or pratfalls or something. Okay. That's
Like it's funny, but it's not a farce.
right. Right. Okay. Any final words on
I was going to mention on the subject of crossovers.
okay.
There was presumably because it's the 40th anniversary for both series. There was recently a Transformers collab with the TMNT called Party Wallop.
Okay.
Yeah, the toy.
The toy is called Party Wallop. It's the turtle van from the 80s cartoon, and it turns into a turtle, but it's done in such a way that you can make it into any of the 4 turtles
that's
by
very good.
swapping out like the mask and weapons.
That's
So
clever.
naturally, if you want to display it as if you want all 4, you have to buy 4 of it.
And yes, transform them all.
Yes.
The turtles are also in Injustice 2
Yes.
as 4 characters in one. And there are also costumes in Street Fighter.
6.
I forgot if it was 5 or 6.
Six.
I think it's 6.
Anyway, a Street Fighter crossover, but the costumes are basically $15 each.
Wow. Well,
$15.
you get to pay for it. All right. So,
And they are in Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl.
which is a video game.
Yeah, it's
Yes.
a fighting game.
And of course, it's the 80s Turtles. Because Rise fans can't have nice things.
All right. Well, so any closing words?
Watch Rise of the TMNT.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So, happy anniversary,
Yes.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Yes.
So until next time. Oh wait, you need to do your little.
Yeah. If you're looking for a silent fidget toy, use our affiliate code Marty and Eli for 10% off your purchase at onoroller.com.
Right?
And leave a comment if you have any opinions on TMNT, whether you agree or disagree. We'd love to hear it.
If you made it this far, type cowabunga.
All right. So
or hot soup.
So until next time, I'm David Hankins,
I'm Paul Hankins.
I'm Trevor Hankins.
and you've been on the air with Power Squared.